Welcome, guys, back to ILWPOD. This is our weekly Monday Night Raw review on Netflix. We're not on Netflix, but Raw is. This was a great week. It seems like Raw's getting back to normal.
Yeah,
What'd you think about it?
I enjoyed it. I was really excited for it and enjoyed the show.
You know, they had a lot of teasers going into this, mystery opponents for certain people, street fight main event. But we started off the night hot with CM Punk, which was a bit of a surprise. I wasn't expecting Punk. Usually it's a week, every other week, every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, Punk appears.
He showed up, went straight to the ring.
Showed up, right to the ring.
Hot.
They love Punk.
Yeah, the crowd was really hot. Really hot for Punk.
And, you know, it's nice to see that Punk seems to be back on track. He wants to get that World Heavyweight Championship, that WWE Championship, one or the other, main event, WrestleMania. And he let it be known. You know, he's not like John Cena. He's ready to be seen, heard. And there was a lot of Cena references.
Well, he made his announcement for the Rumble.
Yep.
And, you know, Cena did last week, so maybe some just testing the waters, I feel like. For the WrestleMania scene, kind of testing the waters to see what might
see who's most who gets the biggest pop, who gets the biggest reactions. Yep. After that, we get the interruption of Seth Rollins, which also, you know, was interesting.
I like the way it happened. Punk said, you know, that's it. You can't see me or whatever. Hit my
music, and then Rollins'
music hit. So it kind of,
I think
it was a good placement.
One of my favorite little subtle things that played out was once Rollins gets in the ring, he's wearing the glasses, he takes them off, and he's got the shiner. So it was just the way he sold it was great. Class act
and
by
Punk
Seth.
played into it very well.
Yeah, he even like not in the mic or anything was like, "Is that a black eye?" Like you heard him talking stuff. But Rollins also says, "You know what? Well, I'm not done with you, Punk. I'll throw you over the top rope at the Royal Rumble," and declares himself for the Royal Rumble.
Kind of like he did with, you know, just wanting to make Punk's life
a living hell.
Yeah. Like revenge.
Like, I'm not done with you.
You're right.
In spite of you, you might have beat me last week, but I'm gonna take this from you.
And he said he's a man of his word because he's showing up. Even though he lost.
Do you think we could get Punk versus Rollins Part 2 at WrestleMania?
Anything's possible.
Because I could see at this point, if Punk doesn't win the Rumble, I could see Rollins costing him that, and then them two colliding.
Anything's possible
in a bigger match.
It just depends. I mean, I figure on how much time Punk wants to spend wrestling still.
That's fair.
Do you see?
Because you got to think his main focus is that Mania main event, the world title.
That was my point.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he's focused on a world title match, main event spot at WrestleMania, like the actual main event spot. If there is no Rock this year, which we don't know yet if there is or isn't,
it leaves spaces open.
It leaves that open. Yep. That even somebody I can see like Cody even stepping back and letting Punk
and Cena, those guys that might not have as many chances this, you know, going forward, let them, because he's going to be around for the foreseeable future. Correct. Who knows how long Punk's and, you know, Cena's will be around for. But when it seems like they're all done, Drew McIntyre interrupts, also declares himself for the Royal Rumble, which
I thought it was unique, dynamic how they all three went back and forth for a minute.
And teased the fight.
Yeah, well, you know, Punk comes after Drew, and Drew says, "Oh, wait, Punk, I wasn't talking to you.
I was talking to Rollins."
Right.
And Rollins is like, "You know what, I'll fight both of you."
Right. I thought it was kind of interesting.
Do you think Drew is validated in his want to make sure Roman Reigns doesn't get back to the top?
I think I would focus on self if I was Drew.
I see what you're saying. I think I like the story part of it from the...
Well, here's my thing. Both Seth and Drew do it. So it's kind of intertangled. Like, because you see...
and Kevin.
And Kevin. So it's going to lead to something. So we'll just have to see where it goes. I don't like to place judgment on too many storylines before...
they're completed.
Right. Because you never know.
I just like how Drew, in most people's eyes, is the villain. He seems very
Well, you know, any good villain always thinks that their cause is just and right.
Yes, but there's a strong argument for why Drew McIntyre could be justified. Roman had 3 years on top as the top. Some might consider at that time the final boss.
Let's have to see how it plays out.
See how it plays out. Okay, I'll stop rambling.
But Drew announces his spot for the Rumble.
Yeah. And so we got, so far announced for the Rumble, we got Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, John Cena, Roman Reigns. 5 guys.
So did Roman actually declare his spot?
Yeah.
Okay.
On SmackDown, Paul Heyman declared
That's
for
right.
him.
That's right. That's
But
right. That's right.
My thing is you are, with that alone, it's probably the most stacked Rumble in the last couple of years. Maybe since an Edge return.
We'll just have to see what happens.
We'll have to see what happens. But star
I'm
power's
excited
there.
for the Rumble.
Up next, we got the Chad Gable versus the mystery opponent.
Okay. Now, they say mystery opponent, but
We all knew it was.
Well, I mean, from the crowd, like you pointed out before the match even started, there was mask in the crowd.
Well, like I told you earlier, they released Penta merch on WWE.com.
That being said, I'm glad Penta.
I like the subtle things though. Like before they have Gable come back before they go to commercial break or whatever you want to call it. Michael Cole says, Gable should have a little fear.
Well, even after Penta
next.
comes out, Cole says something along to the lines of Penta is the second best luchador,
behind Rey
only
Mysterio.
next to Rey Mysterio.
Yep.
A lot of people consider. He then went on to give shout outs to him being the TNA champion, Lucha Underground,
Big
Triple A, and so forth. And I thought that was kind of unique. Gable come out with the "you suck," and it kind of felt like a Kurt Angle thing, as you were saying earlier.
Yeah, I just felt like this was very reminiscent of when Rey Mysterio debuted against Kurt Angle. They teased the mask for weeks, and then, you get this great classic luchador versus Kurt Angle, and then in this instant, you got this great classic luchador against Gable. So both guys, Penta has the could equal that Rey Mysterio spot, and then Gable in some ways could represent that Kurt Angle spot. It was a great homage to the past.
I didn't pick up on it. He did. I after he told me though, I did notice the similarities.
Yeah.
It was a great match though. Absolutely great match. I was surprised that Gable actually at the beginning of the match was in charge most of it.
Yep.
So that kind of surprised me.
I like the striking. Both men back and forth. Penta with great chops. Might have one of the best super kicks in the game.
The suplex Gable delivers off of the
apron, the German suplex.
Yes, the German suplex
was phenomenal.
That was phenomenal.
Gable working the leg was just class act, and Penta's selling of the leg was great.
Yeah, and the arm. And then he went to the arm.
Yep.
And so I like that. Then we had Penta. He did the off the top rope, the
head scissors.
Head scissors, which was amazing.
Followed by the Mexican Destroyer.
Yeah, well, I like Pat McAfee. Switching the Canadian Destroyer to I like that. And then he did the arm breaker and then the Penta driver. And that was awesome. It was really...
And both men played their roles really well. Penta showed the offense that we all expected with the head scissors, the snap arm maneuver, the Penta driver, the Mexican Destroyer, and then Gable with excellent suplexes, excellent counters. I really just enjoyed the flow of the match, and it was a great way to introduce a WWE audience to Penta.
Oh, I think they know who he is. Then there was Penta gave his
speech at the end, which was cool because you don't expect Penta to speak. He's a man of few words. Zero fear, few words.
I noticed when he was coming to the ring, the little girl crying in the crowd.
I definitely think it was his daughter.
Well, I don't know
if I had
much.
to guess.
I don't know much Spanish, but I heard him La Familia, and so I'm figuring that was his family out there, and so that was really nice to see him finally getting to where he wanted to be. Probably his whole career.
It seems like
his family being able to be a part of it. It was really nice to hear him.
Let that be known.
Yeah.
Hey, he pretty much he said WWE is home.
Home.
And
he
this
has
is his family in front of him. I think the crowd was great for it. I think we could be in for, as he said it, the Penta era.
Yeah, I'm excited.
After that, we do have a little backstage segment with the Judgment Day, which is definitely division. You know, Finn and JD lost their tag titles. Liv just lost her women's championship.
Her and Dom's
Dominic Mysterio kind of tried to go back with Rhea last week. Doesn't seem like Liv Morgan's too happy, and Dominic Mysterio definitely plays his role to a T. You know, I would be interested in seeing a Penta versus Dominic match.
It could happen. It could happen.
Well, I know, just fantasy booking while we're here, Dominic versus Dragon Lee for like the NXT North American title were great matches, and Dominic I don't think it's enough credit for his Lucha Libre abilities. So I'd love to see Penta versus Dominic in the future. Do you have any more thoughts on that segment?
No, I just love Dom, anything he does.
Okay.
I'm really, really big on Dom. Even like when Finn was telling him he had a problem, he was still sitting there like stroking his mustache, you know.
He's just
thinking he's
cocky,
naive,
sly heel.
Naive.
And naive's probably the best word for it.
Mm-hmm.
Up next, we got a banger, as Sheamus likes to say. Pat McAfee let us know that Fight Night has arrived when we get Sheamus versus Ludwig Kaiser. A match we've seen a lot, but I can't get enough of it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I was expecting a hard-hitting match. It definitely delivered. When they come down to the ring, you see Breaker.
Braun Breaker and Daniel Cormier from
Daniel
UFC.
Cormier.
So we're still getting the crowd, the little crowd teasers with different
not
people.
as many tonight as it was last Monday, but it was nice.
It's a great way to get talent that's not on the show per se to be on the show.
Right.
Or to highlight
Right.
certain
I'm
people.
sure there's a place later in the show we'll talk about it some more.
Yep. But as far as this match goes, you know, it was everything we expected. Stiff, hard hitting. I liked how Kaiser does the run around the ring thing with the drop kick. It's just cool.
Vicious.
He does where he makes his mistake is he tries to steal that shillelagh, and Sheamus hits him with that brutal like brogue kick like knee, which is badass. Sheamus after that pretty much dominates and hits the brogue kick, gets the win. I think the real point was after the match though.
Yeah, Sheamus goes out to celebrate with McAfee. Breaker's in the crowd. There's an altercation. Breaker slaps Sheamus back and forth. And it was pretty nice. Pretty exciting.
And we get a little update on that later in the show, which we'll talk about when we get there. But after that, you get a little backstage interview kind of with Seth Rollins. He's talking about how he just talked to Adam Pearce and he's going to squash his beef with Drew McIntyre next week. WrestleMania rematch, which is exciting. You don't always get those on Raw.
Third Netflix Raw WrestleMania rematch. It might be pretty interesting.
After that, Rollins kind of runs into Sami Zayn and then runs down Sami Zayn about everything he's done to help Roman Reigns.
This segment and the next couple, they all kind of run into like tie in together.
Okay.
In the backstage, you know, and I really like that. I like how they tied them all together.
It seems like you can see it flow through the arena.
It's kind of like a movie, you know. You're watching or a television like part by. So it was kind of nice, like them bumping into each other and then.
So, with that said, you know, they show Gunther coming to the ring. They go to commercial break. And when you get back, it's actually Karrion Kross coming out of Adam Pearce's office. Runs into Miz.
First, Rollins run into Zayn.
Yes.
And kind of gave Zayn the hard time about helping Roman. And at that moment, you could kind of see...
gears turning.
Sami Zayn's gears turning. Like, I noticed it. And then after the Gunther thing, you come back, and Zayn's on his way to Pierce's office.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking at some point, we might see a Sami Zayn
turn on Roman.
Even, okay, look, picture this. There's no Rock, right, at Mania.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say it's not Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania?
I mean... I wouldn't be opposed to it. I know their match Elimination Chamber in Canada was great.
And was loud and
it was a huge pop.
Or the Elimination Chamber, you got Roman and Sammy
in Toronto.
Part
2 years later, I think. 3 years later, something like that.
Right.
I could
see something like that.
I want to know what Cross was doing in Adam Pearce's office. I really like his character. I know he doesn't get a lot of wins, which in the WWE, I don't know if wins and losses matter as much as most places, but Cross's character, he seems like I would only compare him to a better version of MJF's devil.
Do you think Sammy was going to Pearce's office to enter the Rumble, though?
I don't even feel like at this point you need to go to Adam Pearce's office.
But I feel like that's where they were going.
Definitely, I feel like he was going there to do that. But before we get to that, I just want to, like, if you think about Karrion Kross, everything he touches, win, lose, or draw, falls apart. Like, he showed up, he gave the tick-tock to the Bloodline. They crumbled. He fights Drew McIntyre. Next thing you know, McIntyre's heel. You know, he messed with Kofi and the New Day. Now they're heel. Messed with the Miz. Miz turns on R-Truth. So, like...
No, let's see what you're saying.
That he really...
There's a pattern.
He has a way to turn people, whether he beats them or does not.
Oh.
And it's interesting. And I think it's something that long-term wise we need to pay attention to.
Definitely will.
But like you said, Sammy, you know, was going to Adam Pearce's office. It seems like he was probably, you know, trying to enter the Rumble. Maybe won a match with Seth Rollins. Who knows really what he was thinking going into that. But he gets stopped by Miz and Karrion Kross. And pretty much is like, you know what, I'm going to go ask for a fight with you instead, Miz, because you want to run your mouth. Following that.
But whenever he did that, right, you mentioned at that point in time that you already knew that match was taking place.
I did. If you notice, I think it might have been it was either the Penta or the Kaiser match. They have the rundown of what to expect on Raw. And Sami Zayn versus The Miz was in that little slide that flew across the bottom of the screen.
So they kind of blew it.
Little production blunder, if you want to call it that. I guess to be expected when you're going through growing pains.
Hadn't asked Adam yet for the match.
Then how is it on the bottom of the card?
The screen, that's definitely a blunder.
That's definitely a blunder.
Just a little heads up there, producers of Monday Night Raw.
We get into the Gunther segment. Before Gunther makes it to the ring, they highlight that Obafemi is in the crowd, your new NXT champion. Gunther comes out and he's talking about the Netflix Raw debut and, you know, hyping himself up, hyping Raw up. And then we get the interruption of main event Jey Uso. Crowd is always hot for main event Jey Uso.
I like Jey.
And Jey gets right to the point, too. He's like, look, I'm done with Drew. I'm done with the bloodline. I want you. I want the world title. And calls him out, challenges him for Saturday night's main event. And Gunther really runs down Jey Uso, telling him he ain't worth it. He's already beaten twice. You're just a tag team guy.
Yeah.
What do you think about the way Gunther runs down Jey Uso?
I would love to see, in my opinion, I'd love to see Jey be the one to knock Gunther off.
Think we can see it at the Rumble? I mean, at Saturday night's main event?
I hope so. I don't know, but I hope so. I believe Jey should win, though. I think it's what is necessary. I think he's right there on that threshold of breaking through to be
to the main event.
Yeah,
to the actual main event.
And he's, you know, so I think it would be a good spot. And then you might even get something like a Jey Uso and Roman. You could.
Jey Uso and Roman.
Since there's no Rock, maybe. Or if there is a Rock.
Versus Jey Uso.
Sami versus, right.
Punk versus Jey Uso.
Yes, because they're buddies. You know, we seen them at that press conference not too long back.
Well, and Jey and Punk they've been intertwined realistically for years, because when Punk used to battle the Shield, that was one of many tag teams that Punk would call for. It'd be Punk and the Usos versus the Shield. So it's really like Punk and Jey have a bigger history than we really think.
Correct.
And, you know, Jey just lets it be known, hey, you know, I'm not backing down, Gunther. I see it's Saturday night's main event. I want that world title. After that, we get the Women's Intercontinental Championship match between Lyra Valkyria and Dakota Kai.
It had a big match feel.
It did. They made it feel important.
Yeah, they made it feel important. I like that.
I
thought it felt bigger than the U.S. title with Chelsea.
With Chelsea?
Yes, I thought it felt bigger. I thought it was nice.
I like how they let you know the history of the men's title to try to intertwine.
Yeah.
Letting you know, hey, Pat Patterson was the inaugural of the men's side. The lineage goes back, 30 plus, 40 plus years, if not longer. And just these two women also just made it seem important.
And it was a good match.
They come out the gate hot.
Yeah,
the superplex off the apron was crazy.
It was amazing.
That had to hurt.
Yes, it was a really, really nice suplex.
They really surprised me with the winner, though, because, me and you talked about it while the match was happening. Dakota Kai gets beat up the whole match, and it really seemed like they was building for that comeback.
She took that running power bomb, and at that point, I thought she was going to make a comeback.
Well, and not to mention, on commentary, Michael Cole really hones in on the history of Dakota Kai and how much she's fought to win this. And then, out of nowhere, Lyra gets the win.
Well, she did come back for a minute and hit her with the GTK or whatever it is.
To go to kick.
Yeah, and
I really like that stomp that she did.
I like the stomp.
That was nice.
And then Valkyrie hits the Nightwing and wins. And it was good. It was a good match. Great match for the women's division.
I like the touch of having the GM Adam Pearce come out and put the belt on her.
Yeah,
the fireworks.
It was nice. It felt big.
Yep. After this, we get Sami Zayn versus The Miz.
The Miz didn't even get a two-time world champion, right? Two times, right?
They made him seem like such a big deal, which
and
The Miz
he come out like a jobber.
They have.
It made me feel like the old Monday Night Raws where Barry Horowitz is standing in the ring. This is what it made me feel.
And there wasn't really much to say about the match other than Sami hit the Helluva kick and pins Miz.
No, Blue Thunderbomb.
With a Blue Thunderbomb.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy.
And Sami I can't say the last time Sami won with a Blue Thunderbomb. And Michael Cole even put that over. With a Blue Thunderbomb,
yeah,
he beat The Miz.
He did put that over.
It is insane.
And then they announced Baron Corbin, or Braun Breaker and Sheamus at Saturday Night's Main Event. That's going to be a good one. I can't wait for that. That's going to be a hard-hitting match.
I think, honestly, with how Breaker's title reign's been, I think it'd even be cool if you had Sheamus win.
Because Sheamus has never had to work Intercontinental, right?
And then just you could always have Breaker win it back at the Rumble.
They might.
That would be cool. Just a shock surprise. Because unless, which they announced next as official, Gunther retains against Jey Uso.
Right.
Or Jey Uso. What I meant to say was unless Jey beats Gunther, would be the only way I wouldn't see Sheamus walking out the Intercontinental Champion. They don't really like to do the multiple title changes in a night type of thing.
Yeah, but sometimes you need to do that to kind of throw things off.
Yep.
So maybe we'll see.
Could we see, Sheamus become a Grand Slam champion and Jey Uso become the World Heavyweight Champion the same night?
Oh, I would like it.
All right. After that, we do get Rhea Bloody Ripley, as she likes to call herself. She is the Women's World Champion. And interestingly, she gets interrupted by Nia Jax.
Nia had nuclear Hulk Hogan style.
She had Hogan boobs.
Yes.
I never thought I'd refer to him as Hogan boobs, but she had Hogan boobs.
Look, she had Hogan heat tonight. I could not believe it.
Another woman that, for one, she says she's trying to see about this transfer window, which is something that I think they're trying to initiate with the Netflix thing. And if you've noticed, we've had teases of Bayley possibly coming to Raw. Now Nia's talking about it.
Bayley was in the crowd tonight.
Yep, which I was getting there. But Nia also says she's entering the Royal Rumble. So everybody's entering the Rumble. The question is Nia entering the Women's Rumble or is she entering the Men's Rumble?
The Women's.
But like you said, Bayley is in the crowd. It's her hometown, San Jose. She gets in the face of Nia Jax because Nia's running her mouth. And At first, it looked like Nia was going to take out both Rhea and Bayley. She's tossing them around, throwing them around.
She threw Bayley clear across the ring. I mean, that was an amazing toss. I was like, oh.
It was cool to see Rhea and Bayley come together to take down Nia.
Stand tall.
Stand tall. If you notice, Bayley was eyeing that women's championship.
Something I noticed, though. Bayley made kind of a reference to Nia's size.
I don't know if she was meaning
that. Pushed her.
I don't know if she was meaning it that way.
I know with the WWE switching to Netflix, maybe they're going a different way on some of the content. Like there was some headshots I seen later on in the show that we can talk about that you might not have seen
beforehand.
Right. Also.
I agree. So the baby faces stand tall. Rhea and Bayley stand tall over Nia Jax. Interesting to see, I guess, where that goes next. Bayley does have a shot against Tiffany Stratton for the WWE Women's Championship. So, yeah, we'll have to see where that goes. Before we get to the main event, they do announce next week that New Day will be in action for the first time since their heel turn. I wonder if they'll get Hogan boos. And then we get the return of your favorite podcaster, JBL.
I'm a big Bradshaw fan.
Would you, just while we're on the topic of JBL, would you like to see JBL maybe replace Bruce on something to wrestle?
Oh, no, never. I mean, but JBL can get his own something to wrestle with.
Something to wrestle with JBL?
Yeah, or something,
Okay.
Bruce is Bruce, Can't replace Bruce.
No, you can't replace Bruce.
Can't replace Bruce Pritchard.
He holds a special place in our heart. That's a podcast we've watched for years. Shout out to Something to Wrestle. As a fellow podcaster, we love Bruce Pritchard over here at ILWPOD. But let's get into the main event. Something I'm sure Bruce had his fingers on. Damian Priest versus Finn Balor.
They did a nice package at the beginning.
Yes.
It kind of showed the whole rundown of everything. I like the packages. They always do great with the packages and have for years. So it was really nice.
I like, Damian Priest in his entrance comes out with the kendo stick. It's got the Puerto Rican flag on it showing heritage. I also liked how we didn't even get a Finn Balor.
No, he snuck up on him.
Yep. Them kendo stick shots were stiff. I mean, later on in the match, you can see Balor in the crowd all marked up with the kendo stick. They fighting all over the arena.
The trash can comes into play. And
when they're in the crowd.
Shots that Balor takes with that trash can that they were directly to the top of the head, and I mean pretty hard. I know they're not, but just before you always seen the shots on the back and the shoulder blade.
Or they put the hands up.
Right, something. There was no hands up, no nothing.
Balor took them head on.
Yes, and like we said earlier with the Bayley talk and then that, it just makes me think that maybe Netflix is a little more lenient on some of their standards than maybe.
With this match, I really enjoyed how they fought all over the arena.
Everywhere.
Sometimes with the street fight, you'll get them fighting a little bit outside, and then they'll just end.
They were everywhere.
They fought on every ounce of that arena, leading all the way to the balcony by the front of the by the stage, which led us to them fighting on that balcony. And Damian Priest hit one hell of a Falcon's Arrow through a set of tables that were obviously put there for this spot.
That was all awesome.
It's an amazing spot.
My only problem with it was once they go to break and come back, and Finn's being pushed out.
Okay.
I think that should have been the end. I don't think they should have had a second half of the match after that spot. I think that spot should have finished the match because then Finn gets back up later in the match.
And does a bunch of...
Right. And to me, it just killed that spot. Like, that spot was a big spot.
It could have been the end of Raw.
It could... Right. They could have went off there right then.
Could have made a big deal about it. And then they come back later.
Right.
Okay. And then we could have had the whole second part of the match another time. 2 weeks down the line.
Right. Or the Judgment Day could have ran out. Anything else besides getting Finn. I understand you want to beat him, but like even when he goes and gets him off the stretcher and attacks the Judgment Day and attacks Finn with the stretcher,
I like.
It shouldn't have been a comeback after that. Like there should have been no more Judgment Day interference. He should have beat.
He should have just came in South Heaven chokeslam.
Yeah, he could have even did it while he was still on the stretcher, with like tied to the stretcher even or something. You know.
I don't know how that's gonna work, Dad, but I understand what you're saying.
Could have tried something.
I do like how they utilized the stretcher though, rolling him down the ring.
Oh yeah, it was good.
And the timing for Finn to be able to, you got to think that's got to be difficult. Rolling off the stretcher into the ring is cool.
And I wish, like with Carlito, I wish they would do something more. They brought Carlito back, and I think he could be.
I think he's having fun though.
No, he's definitely having fun, and you can tell he's having fun. And the parts that he plays, he's good at.
I see what you're saying, but he reminds me of.
I know Bruce Pritchard, like we was talking about, has a special place in his heart for probably Carlito. He's always talked very highly of him, and I figure Bruce kind of got Carlito back in. Maybe. I think Carlito just. They might have had a plan with Carlito at first, and then he's got into the Judgment Day. And I'd like to see him do something else. I'd like to see Carlito versus Cena.
Okay, but what I was going to tell you is with Carlito, it might be one of those things kind of like a Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. They're on the roster. They're great guys. They know how to wrestle. But instead of being out there on the indies taking bumps that are unnecessary, they're getting paid to do what they love, and they're having fun.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And
I just like to see him.
He's highlighted every week. Every week he is in the top program.
I know. I would just like to see more done with him. Is all I was saying.
I understand. He does get involved, and he tries to stop Damian Priest and gets taken out by the War Raiders.
Yeah.
Before that, though, I kind of liked. I know you talked about Balor getting up and doing, having a comeback, but that comeback was aided. Like, even to the point where Judgment Day, pick Balor up, put him on the top rope and say, hey, hit the coup de grace.
Yeah. And the double stop.
I thought it could have been in too.
Awesome.
I thought it could have been in there.
Yeah.
The War Raiders coming out was cool. I think they need to be showcased more. I don't understand why you're Raw Tag Team Champions and your Intercontinental Champion aren't utilized more. Because all three of the men, Eric, Ivar, and Braun Baker, are great. Like having them set in the crowd one week.
I think next week we'll see some more of them.
Fair enough. But the War Raiders get rid of J.D. McDonough and Carlito. Damian Priest, though. I liked the South of Heaven with the chair wrapped around his head. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that was
It was kind of dangerous, but it was cool.
Cool. Finn kicked out of that.
We get a coup de grace off the apron through a table.
That's the one I like the most. I enjoyed that.
The selling of it was great.
I like that.
It looked badass.
And at that point, I thought it was going to be over.
I thought, the comeback that Priest gets with picking him up, putting him through the barricade, and then you gotta love a razor's edge.
Yeah, I love the razor's edge.
Through the table, and then Priest to put the icing on the cake. South of Heaven in the middle of the ring gets the pin. My only question is it over, or do we get more?
They said it was supposed to be the end.
Well, they always say it's just the end of the. They've said that with the Judgment Day and Priest and Rhea.
It's been going on. It's been going
since
on
before SummerSlam.
You're right.
So, is it the end?
Wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see.
Famous words.
Overall,
man, I think it was an amazing Raw. I think they got kind of back to more matches this week.
Mm-hmm. Seemed like more of the more normal Raw.
But with that big fight Netflix feel. Sorry, try saying that 5 times fast backwards. I thought it had more of that feel, and I enjoyed it. I like the UFC style feel. It makes it feel like a sport, like real.
I think my favorite part is the drum cam.
The drum cam's nice. There was a time whenever Priest does the off the balcony move, where they get an underneath shot of them coming down.
That was really nice.
And that was a real good shot, real good camera angle. I enjoyed that a lot. The show was great. I mean, absolutely amazing.
I also just enjoyed Pat McAfee back on commentary. He's probably one of my favorite commentators in the last so many years. I really like Pat. Overall, what would you rate it? You rated it last week a 5.
I would say it's probably 3.5 this week.
Okay. I like the honesty.
ILWPOD is doing this week Chicago style wrestling. Yep. I wore my Chicago Blackhawks jersey for that, just to show some love to Chicago style wrestling.
Speaking of that, so today, if you haven't checked it out on Spotify and on YouTube, Missa Kate.
Amazing
Chicago
video.
Sweetheart.
I watched it. The interview just flowed really well. I enjoyed it a lot.
CSW Women's Champion, go check that out. Wednesday, we got FXB Black Sheep. He will be facing Rafael Quintero, another man who's been on ILWPOD for
that Quintero podcast.
Excellent.
Really good. Really good. That was last week, right?
Yep.
I checked it out last week. Loved it.
And then Thursday night, before the CSW season premiere, we'll be talking to the CSW World Heavyweight Champion, Conan Lycan, who is facing Gringo Loco this Friday night. Exciting stuff. Pay attention to ILWPOD. We got great interviews across the board, and some fun ones coming. Yeah. So pay attention.
Can't wait.
Big things are coming.
Spotify.
Make sure to like, share, subscribe. And guys, don't be a troll. We'll see you soon.
All praise to God.